Hello, guys. I'm Cassie Lately with Lately Entertainment TV. I just want to say I enjoyed the film. I actually saw both as well, so don't hurt me.
Wow.
But I want to say in this film, certain things from the book starts to happen in real life. I wanted to know if you could describe your life with a book, what book would that be and why? And this question is for the cast.
Oh man. It's a great question. I love this question.
That's so good. I'm like, I need time.
So what book represents like our life? Like would be like the story of our life?
As of right now. Yes, ma'am.
I'm a big self-help book reader. So I would probably say I would say the Four Agreements actually. The Four Agreements because they save my life every day. There isn't a moment that I don't draw on one of the agreements that the book lays out, and it really shapes kind of how I navigate life right now, especially being in a pandemic and having so many things out of my control. It just reminds me what I do have access to, what is in my control, and I just find that to be a really powerful book. It's just such a he lays out so many beautiful stories in it of journey and life. And one of my favorite is to be impeccable with your word. And he tells the story of, you take a pillow and you take the feathers and you think of it as like gossip. And when it all blows out into the wind, and he's like, can you pick all of those feathers back up once they've traveled as far as they can? And you can't. They take on a life of their own. They go where they're going to go. And I found that to be incredibly powerful, because I remember, probably about 10 years ago, where I was just like, I'm just done gossiping. I'm done. I'm done talking about people. I'm done talking about their stories. Like, we don't need to do that anymore. And that has been such a rewarding experience in my life, to just kind of let go of needing to have frivolous conversations. Yes. And then do your best, especially at a time right now, which is going to vary depending on how you're doing, how much sleep you've had, if your kid got up at 2:00 in the morning and stayed up, or, you're, you know what I mean? You're dealing with somebody, a parent who has Alzheimer's and has aggressive outbursts, like whatever is happening in your life. So that book really kind of sums up where I'm at in my life right now, and what I'm doing and what I'm trying to be about.
Love it. I love it. Anyone else?
I read a lot, so I'll jump in here. Let's see. So it's what books, like how we would describe our lives by? Is that?
Yes.
Okay. Lord of the Rings. No. There's a series of books. I think it's 2 books by an author named Dan Millman that were written a few decades ago, that I read when I was a teenager. My sister gave me, that I really loved. One of them was called Way of the Peaceful Warrior, and the other was called Journey of the Peaceful Warrior. And I think one of them was made into a film that wasn't really what the book needed, but the book was wonderful and taught me that you can be beautiful to the world and calm and show nothing but love, but still be training for yourself in the way of the warrior. You can always be getting stronger. You're always ready for anything. You're ready for war, but you would never bring war. And I think that's who I am. I think I'm always training. I'm always watching. I'm always learning. I'm reading voraciously. And I want to be here and gain as much knowledge about everything on this earth that I can. That's always been sort of the motto of my life, is just never stop learning. Every minute that I'm awake, I'm trying to learn something. And so those would be the books. Also, there's a series of books called The Magician that they also made into a TV show by an author named Lev Grossman, a coming of age tale that's like a adolescent or tween Harry Potter. And but it's full of sex and drugs and other stuff, so it's a little more interesting. But that one also is, I would say, because I really want to be a magician and I really believe in magic, even though everyone tells me otherwise. So maybe I'm training to I'm training for something. We'll see what it is. So those are my books. And read them. They're great books. Check them out.
Okay, I love it. I love it.
I read a lot of just poetry. I find that sometimes when I start to read a book, I get really distracted. So short form stories or poetry, or like a poetry book that has like a beginning, middle, end, that's like a journey of life. But I really, really love Rupi Kaur, and her poetry is really inspiring for me as a woman and my journey as a woman in this world. Her poetry just makes me feel seen. It makes me feel like my trauma isn't something that I have to carry with me my whole life, and that there can be beauty in the bad things that I've experienced. There can be power and community, and women being friends with women and finding the women in your life that are going to support you and love you. Because I moved around so much in my life, and I never got to have those like friend groups that I always wanted. And I feel like I'm in a place in my life where I can finally say that I do. And it's transformative to have those kinds of friendships. And I just feel like every time I read her poetry, I get goosebumps. And I always say, I'm like, the goosebumps don't lie. So I know that it's doing something to me, and it's resonating in a deep way. And I just love waking up and just like flipping through and seeing what happens, and whatever I read through and whatever it lands on, I take that with me on the day. But she's great. Rupi, if you're watching, I love you.
I'll take it. Actually, Goosebumps are my favorite. That's where I would, Night of the Living Dead. No,
like actual Goosebumps.
No.
Like Arl Stein.
I did read a bunch of those as a kid.
Me too.
No, it's weird. I've got an almost 2-year-old daughter, and so the majority of the reading that I do is a lot of board books and Shel Silverstein and stuff. And there's one book in particular called the Crayons Big Book of Feelings. And as stupid as this sounds, the way that they kind of simplify everything into, hey, look, here's a visual representation of this particular emotion. And they always have these parentheticals, which my daughter absolutely doesn't get at this point. But they kind of let you know that one emotion isn't unto itself. They all blur together, just like colors in the spectrum, and that's the whole kind of point of the book. And it's nice as an adult to be reminded of that fact, because I think we lose sight of it in the sense of like everything's either it pisses you off or it has to be this hyperbolic extreme of happiness, or there's never any gray area any longer. And so it's nice. While my daughter's usually running laps around me and I'm trying to read it, to be reminded of the fact that, hey, look, it's okay to be brave, but also be a little bit scared, to be excited, but also a little bit nervous. And I think now more than ever, we need to be reminded of that fact. And it's been really helpful for me. So.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And I can't wait for everyone to see the film as well. So thank you guys so much.